Thank you so much for joining me on this edition of the Late the W podcast. As always, I'm your host, Mahal. Make sure you leave a like, subscribe, leave a 5-star review, all of that fantastic jazz. If it's your first time joining, make sure you follow on social media at Late the W pod on all of that. Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, we're active on all of those. So without further ado, let's sound the horn and get into this episode.
The pitch from Acevedo.
Swung on the line, down the left field line for a base hit. Fly ball, gap, right center field.
Double him up at second.
Luke is going back to the 1-8 track. Get out the right, Brennan Mustard, grandma. It is grand salami time.
And will send Seattle to the American League Championship Series for the first time in 24 years.
Four straight losses for the Seattle Mariners as they dropped the final two in Anaheim and the first two in Texas. Today is Tuesday, April 7th. I am recording this at 8:51 p.m. post-game of Game 2 of the Mariners' three-game set with the Texas Rangers. This is episode 139 of the Light the W podcast. As always, I am your host, Mahal, and welcome back, or welcome to the show. Mariners dropped their fourth straight game today. George Kirby goes complete game through 8 innings. Probably would have been back out there for the 9th as well. Had a fantastic outing. It was just one pitch that was sent over the left field wall for a home run, and that was it. And the Mariners dropped the game. They lose 3-2. Not enough offense. They start to threaten in the 9th. Luke Raley misses first base, rounding it. Should have had a leadoff double. They then get a little nice base knock that likely would have driven in Raley. Had he been on second base, the game would have been tied, but it wasn't there. And the Mariners offense just hasn't really been there throughout much of this season. Look, we are not that far into the season, and I hate the cliche of it's still early, but it really is still early. And while I came into this episode and after the game, I was pretty frustrated, pretty livid with what has gone on so far with this Mariners team, this Mariners offense. But that's all just emotions coming from the specific game and from the games of late for this Mariners team. You take a step back from a game, you allow yourself to take a breath, let the emotions sort of release and not sort of just sit with you in the game, and you just push yourself away, go throw a no-hitter in MLB The Show like I did, go blow some steam off, and sort of just find yourself, find your thoughts about this Mariners team. And you look at this roster and it's like, this is a good team. This is going to be a good team. They are going to figure it out at some point. The bullpen, the pitching really actually has been there for the most part. It has just been the lineup. And I went this morning pregame and looked at a bunch of stats from whiff to hard hits to strikeout, line drive percentage, all these different things. I took a look at Cal's swing. I took a look at Naylor's swing a little bit to see if there's anything there. Julio, I'm sort of leaving alone because he's his own sort of thing going on here. I took a look at Luke Raley a little bit, some of the stuff he's done. But you look at this Mariners lineup and, Brendan Donovan missed a couple games, but he's been very good. Cole Young's been very good. Randy Arozarena's been very good. Those have been really it, though, offensively. Canzone has struggled. Raley has struggled. Julio, Cal, Naylor all have struggled. JP has struggled. Look, this is an offense that is too good not to figure it out at some point. But you don't want to dig yourself into an early hole. And that's what's going on here. It's almost as if they're playing like it's still spring training. And maybe it's time to just say, let's free ourselves up and say a little bit of this.
Fuck you, Jobu. I do it myself.
Or maybe it's not. Because maybe the Mariners are doing it themselves a little too much. Maybe they're swinging for the fences, trying to be the hero themselves. And it's just a mentality. You need to just pass the baton, right? You don't need to swing for the fences and hit a home run every at bat. But it feels like that's sort of what this offense and what these hitters are feeling right now. Because there's not enough production. when runners get on, they're like, okay, we need to drive them in, right? And they're thinking, okay, how can I do that? Extra base hit, home run, whatever it may be. When you just need to trust your teammates a little bit, and it feels like there's a little bit of a lack of trust right now going on in the clubhouse. And I don't know if that's true. I am speculating, purely speculating. But when you watch this team, that's a little bit of what it feels like. There's been a lot of rollovers to first base. I mean, broadcast crew, Angie, Dan, oh my God, Angie, Buhner, Goldsmith. Oh my God, how did I space on Goldsmith's name? But they were talking about it tonight, how they were just noticing it was rollover to first base, rollover to first base, rollover to first base. And to me, that's you're trying a little bit too hard. You're swinging a little bit too hard. You're getting a little bit too far ahead of yourself. And it's just causing you to get the top of the ball. It's causing you to get in front of the ball. And that's causing the rollovers. Look, again, I really do believe that this offense is going to figure it out. And it's just going to take a little bit of time. But you got to win ball games in the meantime, right? And they haven't really been able to do that. That first homestand, you were able to win 3 out of the 7 games, but you've gone to Anaheim, you've gone to Texas, and you've already confirmed series losses in both of those series. You're 4-8 right now. You're 4-8. You want to be better than that. You expect to be better than that. But it's been 12 games. It's been 12 games. So the stats that I'm going to give you, I take with a grain of salt because it's a tiny sample size. What can you take away from it? Other than, yeah, they're struggling. They're not playing their best right now. And that's the case across the lineup. That's the case across the league. The Red Sox are 3-8. Blue Jays are 4-7. Those are teams you expect to be good. The Tigers are 4-7. Right? So, look, is it time to push the panic button? No. Take a deep breath. Relax. Have I been hitting the panic button during these games? A little bit. Yes. Because it's been frustrating. It has. And I don't want to take away from that. Because I've been just as frustrated as you have been. But the construction of this roster is good. I believe in this team. I believe in this roster. I believe in them to figure it out and eventually start to fly because you've seen that they can be in close games repeatedly. And while they've been in games, you look at their offense and it's been really just atrocious. And you look at the guys that have been in the WBC. And before I get into all the stats that I have prepped for this, the guys that have been in the WBC, baseball is a sport and baseball players are creatures of nature. They are creatures of routine. They need a strict routine and able to be able to operate and play to the greatest extent. That is something we all know, right? Creatures of habit is what baseball players are. And the WBC breaks up routine, breaks up habit. Naturally, you're missing spring training. You're missing your opportunity to get your timing and get ready for the season. And you're getting high intensity at bats early. That's how you build bad habits. That's how you create bad habits. That's how your swing gets messed up. Because now you're trying to compensate in 5 games, 6 games, whatever you manage to play in the WBC. You're trying to figure out your swing and be ready. For Cal Raleigh, he came back and he was trying to get as many reps as possible. But if you've built those bad routines and if you're a creature of habit that needs that routine, needs that habitual sort of day and spring to be ready for the season, then this is what happens and you struggle. Is it a coincidence that the guys that have played the best were in spring training for the entirety of spring training? Brendan Donovan, Cole Young. Randy Rosarena obviously did play in the WBC, but he was back earlier than guys like Cal and Julio. But look, I really do believe that these guys are going to figure it out. I'm not worried about Cal, Julio, and Naylor. I've seen some people start to worry about Naylor. I'm not worried about Naylor. I really do think he's going to figure it out. The at-bats have been better. Guys are putting the ball in play more. It's just about getting a couple hits to fall, get that confidence up, and all of a sudden you're flying again. But there have been a big three sort of problems that this Mariners team has dealt with offensively. Number one, to me, is the whiff percentage. They are number one in whiff percentage, the highest in baseball. You could also take that as number 30 in the league. 32% whiff rate up and down the lineup. And that includes guys like Brendan Donovan and Cole Young, who don't whiff a lot and have been putting the ball in play a lot. Which when you have guys like Luke Raley, Tom Canzone, Cal Raleigh, Julio Rodriguez, and even Josh Naylor so far this season that are whiffing a lot, it's what it's going to do to your lineup. Number two, alongside the whiff, when they are making contact, they have the second lowest hard hit percentage in the league. Just 34% of the time. Their hard hit percentage is just 2% higher than the whiff percentage. That's a problem. You need that to be upwards of 40, 45. And alongside that, you're not hitting line drives. 9th lowest line drive percentage for this offense so far. And with the whiff, you're striking out a lot. You have the 5th most strikeouts so far this season. The only teams that are worse are the White Sox, the Angels, the Rockies, and the A's. The Sacramento A's. Your strikeout percentage, 26.7%. So look, not only are you not making contact with the ball, unlike Luke Raley, when you are making contact, across the board, you haven't been hitting the ball hard. And part of that's because guys like Brendan Donovan don't hit the ball super hard. Young has hit the ball hard a couple times, but even he doesn't have the highest hard hit rate out of anybody. Rosarena will hit the ball hard, but he hasn't done a lot in terms of extra base hits and home runs so far. But you look at this lineup, and there are things to look at and be positive about. They have the 6th most walks in baseball. They are top 10 in barrel percentage, ranking 7th at 10%. And I really don't think that there's any way that they could be worse. Can Julio Rodriguez, Cal Raleigh, and Josh Naylor be worse than they have been to start this season? It really doesn't feel that way. And that in and of itself is a positive thing. You are seeing what the floor of this baseball team is. At least the floor of this offense. The pitching has been pretty solid, but it hasn't really gone in tandem at the same time as this offense. Like, if you told me they could win tonight's ballgame 2-1, I would have taken that in a heartbeat. And they've lost games because of the bullpen a couple times, and it hasn't allowed them to stay in games. You look at Sunday's game in Anaheim. You needed to maintain that lead, and they haven't maintained leads for long periods of time. They've struggled with that immensely. You're not scoring that many runs. You're struggling to get base runners to the extent that you were earlier in the season. And maybe it's you got to, take a little bit of a step back in terms of walks in order to take a step forward in terms of hitting the ball. But you're just leaving runners on. And you look at Cal, Julio, Naylor. They have come up so many opportunities with runners on base. And part of that's because guys like Cole Young at the bottom of the lineup and Brendan Donovan leading off have gotten on a lot. Raleigh has left the 17th most runners on base, tied for 17th with 21 runners left on. Julio has left 20. He's tied for 20th. Naylor has left 19. He's tied for 39th. Between those three guys, you've left 60 runners on the bases, on the base paths, and that's entering today's ball game. That's a problem. Are those guys going to be that poor at driving in runs throughout the entire season? You look at it, right? 60 in 12 games. They're leaving multiple runners on base every game. Let's do some quick maths here. 60 divided by 12. Those guys are leaving 5 runners on base. I should have done that math in my head. 5 runners on base between those guys every game on average. Between 3 guys. That means each one is leaving over a runner and a half on base every game. Again, on average. So look, those guys are going to be better. They're going to be able to drive in runs and get RBIs. It's going to improve. But you got to start improving on hitting the baseball. And your swing and miss inside of the zone has been one of the biggest problems. Let's start with Luke Raley, who we haven't talked about a lot. Luke Raley, in-zone swing and miss rate is the highest out of all qualified hitters at 47.7%. Cal, 4th highest, 35.3%. Those guys are getting pitches in the middle of the zone or in the zone, and they are whiffing on them. That's a problem. You get a pitch in the strike zone, you need to be able to hit it and do damage and put it in play. Julio, 11th, and at nearly 30%, just over 29.5%. You have 2 guys in the top 5, 3 guys in the top 11. An in-zone swing and miss rate. That's a problem. You have to be able to hit those baseballs, and that's an obvious thing. In terms of pure whiff rate on those 3 guys, Raley ranks the highest out of anyone in baseball. Over 34% of the pitches that he sees, he whiffs on. Cal, over 40% of them. That's 13th. Raley has the highest whiff rate in the league. Julio is in 18th in whiff percentage, 37.8%, nearly 38%, nearly 40%. For Raley, the thing is, when he's not whiffing, he's put the ball in play with authority. 2nd highest barrel percentage in the league. We take a look back at Naylor, 3rd lowest OPS of 300 this season. Cal Raleigh, 6th lowest hard hit rate this season, has had the lowest or the biggest drop-off of anyone in baseball. Is that going to continue through 162 games? I really don't imagine it will. Brendan Donovan back at the top of the lineup. More opportunities with runners on for these guys. Donnie leadoff homer today. Good for him. And the question that I want to pose, is it time for Julio and Cal not to be hitting next to each other in this lineup? Is it time? Is it time just to draw the lineup out of a hat and just mix it up and free this team up? Because it feels like they're playing tight. Feels like they're just trying to be perfect with every swing, every play, and you just got to play free. It's a game at the end of the day. And to me, that's how can Dan Wilson free this team up? That's what he's there for. That's what Dan Wilson is good at, those clubhouse vibes, keeping the team in a place where it can be successful. The clubhouse in a place where it can be successful. And if he's not able to do that, then it's time to can Dan. Because that's his job. And whether or not it's that, it's his message or is stale and the players just won't listen to him. Or if it's that, he's just not the leader we thought he was. And he's not seeing that this team is playing tight and needs to be freed up. I think he is. I really do. But if the players aren't able to take in what he's saying, he's got to try something new. How do I free these guys up? Is it, pregame batting practice? Let's play a game. Zone the field out. Have guys, point system. You hit it to the left center gap as a right-handed hitter. Or as a left-handed hitter, pardon. That's 5 points. Ground ball hard hit up the middle. 3 points. Right center gap. Couple more points. And you got to get on your fastballs. I wasn't able to get stats purely on fastballs. Fangraphs wouldn't let me. It took stats from last year. So you got to get on fastballs. The Mariners have struggled with fastballs. I don't have specific numbers on that, but they have. And part of that is in zone stuff. Cal Raleigh hasn't been able to hit the fastball for the most part in the zone. Yesterday, Monday, 99-mile-an-hour fastball. He was able to hit out of the ballpark for his first home run. That's a change. That's big. How do you build on that? How does Josh Naylor get an extra base hit his first of the season? How does Julio send a ball to the right center gap? How does he find his approach? How does he lay off sliders away, fastballs off the plate? How does he force pitchers into the zone and not press and chase? Because when he's able to force pitchers into the zone and hit fastballs in the zone, that's when he's successful. That's when he's good. That's when it's the Julio of the second half that we know and love. But he hasn't shown he's been able to do that this year consistently, if at all. He's had at bats where he doesn't see a pitch in the zone and he strikes out. You have to have a concept of the strike zone. And if he's already moving his hands, switching his, swing, that's a problem in of itself. Because his swing, to me, isn't really the problem. It's his approach. And maybe his swing isn't letting him see the ball the way he wants to. And maybe he needs to be able to be faster at the ball so that he can wait on pitches a little bit more. But you're in your head at that point. And I would imagine he is in his head early in these seasons because it's a type of thing where it's like, it's been 5 seasons and I can't start a season off right, 4 seasons, whatever it may be. Because it's 5th season now. I mean, it's a trend that you have to figure out how to break. And until he does so, he's going to be in his head about it. Well, let's talk about Cal and Naylor a little bit. Let's talk about Cal specifically. And really, for the most part, he just looks kind of lost at the plate. He's not able to make contact with stuff, and it's been a problem. Let's talk about his swing, though. Left-handed specifically. Right-handed, there hasn't been, it seems like, a whole lot of change, at least purely in terms of metrics. But the lefty swing it is. Last year, he was closed. -1 degrees was the stance from the left side. He's 3 degrees open this year so far. He's slightly further back in the box. His feet are farther apart. And he's catching the ball a lot further back in his swing and closer to the plate than he was last year. And that's causing the power outage. Because if he can catch the ball out front, he can hit those pulled fly balls that we know and love and that caused him to hit 60 home runs last year. Bat speed is down very slightly, not something to worry about. But his zone contact rate is down 14%, and that's a problem. He's striking out 58% of the time against four-seam fastballs. That's a problem. He has to be able to hit fastballs in order for his power to play. And first and foremost, that's what he's needing to focus on. Make contact in the zone, and specifically with fastballs. Do not whiff on fastballs in the zone. At the very least, foul them off until they're in your hot zone. But you cannot be striking out 58% of the time against four-seamers because pitchers will eat you alive and velocity will eat you alive. For Josh Naylor, he just hasn't been able to swing the bat quite as fast as he was last year or years prior. His bat speed itself hasn't plummeted all that much, but the fast swing rate, the amount of times where his swing and his swing speed and his bat speed is up here instead of, down here, is down. 2024, 32% of the time. 2025, 18% of the time. So far this year, under 6% of the time. Has he made swing changes? I doubt it. His feet are closer together, though. He's a little bit deeper in the box. Tack angle's a little bit higher. But he had a hit in every game in Anaheim. He's starting to figure out a little bit, just hasn't had the power, the doubles that we want to see from Josh Naylor. I think he's going to figure it out, though, and I think he'll probably be the first one to figure it out of him, Cal, and Julio. It's just a matter of when is that going to be. And you hope it's going to be sooner because you need to start winning some damn ball games. So you look up and down this lineup, and it's like, it's not been good enough, but you look at the names, you look at who these guys are, they can be better. They really can. But you need to be able to score runs, and you need to be able to hold leads. So it falls on both sides, but I don't want to harp on the pitching because for the most part, it has been very, very good. But when this team scores runs, let's maintain a lead for more than 2/3 of an inning. Let's maintain it for 2-3 innings. Give this team, this offense, a chance to extend that lead farther. And they weren't able to do it today against Nathan Eovaldi. Tomorrow's going to be a problem. And maybe when you're listening to this, it's today, and maybe it's post-game, and maybe somehow they got to Mackenzie Gore. But I look at Mackenzie Gore, tough lefty, and what lefties have done against this ball club so far, and it feels like it could be a real struggle. Hopefully I'm wrong. Hopefully this team does well tomorrow. Hopefully they win the final game of the series and salvage the road trip a little bit and don't get swept by Texas. Either way, though, they come home this weekend. They got Houston. It's going to be difficult. It's going to be a big series. Big end of this week for this Mariners ball club. Got to start winning some more ball games. Jeff and I will be back on Thursday. We'll talk about that Houston series. We'll talk about Game 3 against Texas. Hopefully it's a little bit more fun to talk about. I'm sure Jeff will have a lot of opinions about this ball club. We'll have more to talk about, I am sure. There's a lot to talk about with this Seattle Mariners ball club right now. But for now, thank you for listening to episode 139 of the Light the W podcast. As always, go Nerds. Peace.